Jessie, my mom called. Where are you? She found me in the bathroom holding a plunger with water dripping from the edges. Her eyes grew as big as plates. Felicia Whiskers, what on earth are you doing? She exclaimed. I said with a peculiar look on my face, her eyes scrunched up tight. Have you seen Jessie? She asked me. I blushed and squeezed the plunger for dear life. Felicia Whiskers, you tell me where your little brother is right this instant. Do you really want to know where he is? I asked her. Yes, I do, she said, waving her finger in my face. I kind of flushed him down the toilet, I answered. You did what? She screeched. I flushed Jessie down the toilet? I swished my mouth back and forth to let the words settle. Mom's mouth opened so wide I could see her tonsils shaking and quaking back and forth like worms. You didn't, did you? He's only 5 years old! I didn't mean to, I lied. Of course I've done it on purpose. What good are little brothers anyway? He always calls me Facetious, and gives me slobbery kisses, and wipes his snot all over me. Mom sighed. He loves you. That's how he shows it to his big sister. By wiping his boogers on me? So gross. Felicia Whiskers, what do you have to say for yourself? She glared so hard her eyes nearly burst. I said in my most innocent voice, I love you. That is not gonna work this time, Felicia. She wouldn't look at me at all, probably afraid it was gonna cause her to fall under my spell. It's not? In my 7 years, it always worked before. I must have been in real trouble this time. What was the big deal? I only flushed him down the toilet. And besides, I wiped the toilet seat after I did it. Mom lowered her voice and looked me directly in the eye. You know what you have to do, young lady. What? I asked, knowing what she was going to say next. Well, go and get him. But I protested, pounding the plunger into the floor. She placed her hand on my shoulder and pressed down. If you don't get your brother from that toilet in 5 minutes, I'm going to tell your daddy. No, Mommy, please, I gasped. It was never good news when Daddy found out what I'd done. She walked toward the door and twisted the knob. Make sure he takes a bath. Nothing smells worse than a little boy that has just come from the toilet. I leaned my head over the toilet bowl and looked down the spiraling porcelain. Jessie, I called. Jessie, are you still down there? He didn't answer. How was I supposed to get him if I didn't know where he disappeared to down there? The plunger didn't work, and there were no rescue squads for this sort of thing. Fine, I said to myself. A girl's gotta do what a girl's gotta do. I rolled up my sleeves and took a deep breath. I was gonna have to go into the toilet and rescue him myself. So, I marched in my bedroom and pulled on my boots and raincoat because it was about to get messy. When I returned to the bathroom, I grabbed a roll of toilet paper. You know, just in case. Here goes nothing, I said as I stepped inside the pool of water and flushed the handle. Whoa! I yelled as I twirled down the toilet's trail. The water swished and slushed all over me. Ew! Down I curled, left and right I swirled, tumbling and jumbling and fumbling all the way until suddenly I landed with a band of mucky splashes that coated my feet all the way to my eyelashes. I was drenched in the stench of toilet's dark trench where the toilet gnomes roamed. But my brother was nowhere in sight. Is this real? I wondered aloud. Could this really be the kingdom of Yuck? The place where all bad little brothers go? It wasn't exactly the way I always thought it would be. The hills were made of slushy, gushy mush. The streets were made of smelly jelly bellies. The trees were swaying and fraying and graying. This was not a good place for a good little girl like me to be. You're going to owe me big time for this, Jessie, I whispered with a snarl. My boots squished along the slushy, mushy streets. Jessie Whiskers, where are you? Oh, Jessie, I cried. My voice echoed as if I were in a giant toilet bowl. Then I remembered I was. It sure does smell here. I pinched my nose as tight as I could, which made me sound like a fish. After all this, I was going to have to take a bath too. I was filthy, and still no brother in sight. Honk honk! A taxi zoomed right by me, splashing muck everywhere. Wait! I called, but the slimy, bug-eyed taxi cab driver kept on going. It was for the best. What would I have paid him anyway? Sheets of toilet paper? Get out of my way! A little creature yelled as he almost hit me on his bike. A trail of goo followed closely behind him. Ugh. Wait! I yelled, but he ignored me too. People sure weren't very friendly in Yuck Kingdom. But I guess that's how it's supposed to be. Move it, little girl! A ghastly beast exclaimed. He almost crashed right into me with his airplane. Wait! Can you help me? I asked, but he didn't look back either. My feet grew so tired by the second. I kept walking, and walking, until my boots were knee-high in slush and mush, and my legs felt like jello. I couldn't take it anymore. I had to stop. I was so sad. I began to cry. I was in a place that smelled like a toilet, because it was, and no one would help me, and not the bug in the taxi, not the creature in the bike, and definitely not the beast for the airplane. I had no brother, and two parents were going to be furious. I was all alone. I sat next to the swaying and fraying and graying trees and let out a long sigh. What was I gonna do? And where was Jessie? What if he was lost for good? What if I never saw him again? It wasn't all that bad, I guess. Well, he was all that bad, but I still missed him. He was a pain, but then again, it was my pain. I guess he didn't always bug me. I mean, even if he did call me Facetious instead of Falacia, it was okay sometimes. I mean, one time, he gave me a hug without slobbering on my cheek. And another time, he gave me a lick of his candy, although he did suck on the candy first. I was really starting to miss Jessie, even if he did always wipe his boogers on me. How could I find him if I didn't know where he was? Oh, I never should have flushed him down the toilet in the first place. Hey, Facetious! Why'd it take you so long? A familiar voice said in the distance. I couldn't believe my eyes. It was Jesse, soaked with slush and mush, but I didn't care. He was right in front of me. Where were you? I asked excitedly. You flushed me down the toilet. Where you think I was? He said with a scrunched up face. I'm sorry, I said, bowing my head. I know what I did was wrong. Do you forgive me? Well, he said, studying the sludge on my face. Then he grinned. I guess so. I've been having fun. Fun? I asked. Yeah. I fumbled and tumbled and jumbled down the drain, he shouted, jumping with excitement. And I twirled and I swirled and I curled left and right, and I played in the slushy, the gush, and the mush, and the streets were made of smelly jelly fellies. And I saw the swing and fring and graying trees, and I love it here. Can we move here? I said to the strangest boy on the planet. Let's just get home before Daddy finds out what I did. Well, alright, he said. So, when it was time to go, up the toilet we went. But this time we swirled and twirled and furled our way up the porcelain. We fumbled and tumbled and jumbled to the very top, where the water waited in a pool. Then, finally, we slushed and gushed and mushed until we were finally exploding out of the toilet. Can't I just go back? He whined. No way, I said, dripping and soaking with toilet filth. Fine, he crabbed. You know something, Facetious? What, Jesse? I missed you. He wrapped his arms around me tight and planted a wet, slobbery kiss on my cheek. I smiled. I couldn't believe it. I actually missed him too, even if he did smell worse than me. Let's not fight anymore, I told him with a gentle squeeze. I'm hungry, he blurted on. Well, not so fast, I said with a grin. There is one more thing we have to do. He looked at me with a puzzled expression. Just then, his eyes expanded into full moons. No! He screamed, reaching for the doorknob. I pulled him back before he could escape. The mud slung from his collar and crashed and splashed onto me. But I didn't care. I had my little brother back, no matter how smelly he was. Nothing else mattered. Besides, it was bath time. The end.